Events bring us together, inspire us, and provide us with lasting memories. But trying to run an event agency while creating these special moments can be difficult, demanding, and sometimes even dreadful, especially if you're trying to do it on your own. So the question is, how do we create wow factors for our attendees while delivering top-notch client events, all while running a profitable business? These are the questions, and I'm here to give you the answers. I'm Chrissy Thompson, and welcome to the Event Agency Secrets podcast. All right. Welcome back to the Event Agency Secrets podcast. Today on the show, I have Jamie Lee Tiffany, who is the Director of Global Sales at ALHI, which stands for Associated Luxury Hotels International. Jamie Lee Tiffany is one of my favorite new friends in the industry. She's really helped us out at Dynamo in sourcing venues for our clients, and I thought she'd be the perfect person to bring on the show to talk about the great return of group business in the hotel industry. Jamie Lee Tiffany, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I said to my girlfriend yesterday, you're my new best friend of 2022. So I'm so glad we finally connected in person.
Yes. Awesome. All right. And I'm so glad that the rest of our audience is going to be able to connect with you here too. All right. Before we jump into the show, can you clear up your name? Do you have two names, three first names? Like, what's your name?
So my maiden name was Jamie Lee Clave, and then I married Brad Tiffany. So I have a new last name and it's Tiffany. So here I am, three first names, Jamie Lee Tiffany. You'll never forget it.
Love it. So we should call you Jamie Lee though, right? Not just Jamie.
Jamie Lee would be great.
Perfect. Okay, cool. So Jamie Lee, tell us about yourself for those of our listeners who don't know you yet. How'd you get into the events industry, and how'd you find yourself at ALHI today?
Like many, I fell into it. When I was in college, I started doing the bus charters for events. And then I started working at a limited service hotel in my college town at the front desk. When I graduated college, I knew I wanted to be in hospitality. So I was accepted into a role at Hard Rock Hotel San Diego on their pre-opening team. And I served as a roadie, which was an event concierge. So I essentially was the on-site between our groups in-house and our sales and events team. And I knew immediately that I wanted to get into group sales. I saw what they were doing and I gravitated immediately towards the sales team.
That's so interesting that you saw that from the get-go. Why do you think you gravitated towards that?
I think it's a personality. My best friend at the time, Elisa Walsh, with Hot. Elisa was a roadie with me as well. And she knew immediately that she wanted to be an event. So I just think it's an internal passion that you have. I love the relationships, not that Elisa doesn't, but it was more about the site visits, creating the sales process. It just really had me going and just filled my cup when I saw what they were doing and really wanted to be a part of it.
Yeah, totally makes sense. I'm not surprised knowing you. You're like a total hunter and also relationship person. So sales is like totally your game. Totally makes sense. And yeah, it's interesting because there's kind of been a common thread through a lot of the interviews that we've done here on the podcast that a lot of people started in the hotel industry in some way, like at the front desk or, you know, whatever it may be. But then made their way into events because of, you know, some calling that they, you know, it pulled them in. So very cool common thread we have there. All right. So moving into your role today, for those who aren't familiar with ALHI, what is ALHI?
ALHI is Associated Luxury Hotels International. We are a global sales office for independent and emerging brand hotels and resorts globally. We serve our members. So my role is finding customers to place group business, trade shows, incentives, meetings, national sales meetings, board meetings at our ALHI member properties. So I am here to partner with our third-party partners like you, Chrissy, in placing your business at our member properties. So with the brands, there are GSO partners, and ALHI just is a place for all those independents to create a buying power to place business at.
Totally makes sense. And so, yeah, obviously you guys can look them up or you can reach out to Jamie Lee Tiffany, but they have some really cool, mostly independent luxury brands or hotels that they represent. And so, yeah, you've been such a great resource for us because, you know, we don't have the intel in every single market, right? On what might be the best fit. So we actually did an interview with Veronica Rivera over at the San Diego Tourism Authority talking about how CVBs can be a really helpful resource in our event businesses. But working with a global salesperson at a brand or ALHI can also be a really great resource because it's a free resource for us, right? So you guys are just here to help us find the best fit for our clients. So super helpful.
Yeah, the hotels actually pay us. So we do not collect a commission. That's for our third-party partners or direct customers.
Yep. Awesome. Great. Thanks for that clarity because I love kind of figuring out all the intricacies of incentives and incentives of how different businesses work together and all of that. So yeah, it's really good to kind of understand how it all works. So in terms of group business today, what are you guys seeing at ALHI in terms of the return to the events industry?
Yeah, drinking out of a fire hose. The demand is
Yeah.
back. It's greater than ever. I know that our groups that are operating right now are outperforming their blocks. I see almost every single day my customers want more rooms. Hotels don't have more
Mm.
rooms to give. And if they have rooms to give, it's going to be at a higher rate because leisure travel is also high. Um,
Mhm.
it's great to see that all corporate, all verticals are coming back and really see the importance of in-person meetings. We've always, you and I have been so passionate about this. So the last few years of not being able to do this, but we do know now that we can do this safely. And
Yeah.
we've learned, but I will say that the COVID clauses, the COVID questionnaires, those are out of the RFPs. It's like it doesn't matter anymore, but we should also remember, and we've learned a lot from it.
Right. And in terms of you mentioned that you're seeing all industries come back, which is great. But just curious, over the past couple of years, what were kind of some of the trends of industries that you saw come back quicker versus slower? And what are your thoughts on
Hmm,
that?
Great question. I found that medical meetings were happening because they
They
still had to advance and
understood.
train,
Yeah.
right? There was a lot of national sales meetings and training meetings, and you know, I have an association of doctors that were coming together because they needed to work on projects together, although they had more restrictions in place and testing. They needed to do it in person because the virtual side wasn't working.
Hmm.
Um, I know the food and beverage industries come back really strong as well. Financial insurance is coming back very strong. So I think everything tech is finally catching on, and I'm seeing a lot of tech opportunities. So
Yeah.
it's exciting to see.
Definitely. That's it. So, yeah, definitely totally aligned in terms of, we really only focus on tech and a little bit of real estate. It was very interesting to see how those two different industries felt about getting together in person during the pandemic and when they were fine with it. Tech really lagged for sure. But now you're totally right. Like everyone's ready to get back. This is May of 2022 that we're talking. And I thought it was going to be earlier than that. I really did. But now I'm getting that sense that we're totally back to business with tech versus our real estate clients were completely fine with getting back together in person. Like they were ready very, very early. And it's interesting, I think, too, because people in, say, like medical or real estate, they were more used to having to get together in person. I mean, for medical, it was essential business, so they had to work in person. And then with real estate, people were continuing to do things in person as well. With development, didn't stop, that type of thing. So versus with tech, a lot of people were working from home and it was completely fine, no different for them. So, I feel like maybe that might have influenced it as well.
Mhm.
But yeah, very good to feel that all industries are really getting back to business, and hearing that your groups are overselling their blocks. Like, wow, that is just really, really, that makes my heart so happy to hear.
Mhm. Mhm.
um, Another question for you, and I don't know if you've seen any trends. I have seen a few, but I'm just curious. As far as destinations go, what have you seen change as far as popularity of different destinations pre-pandemic versus now?
Sure. It was hard because there was several remote properties that we had within ALHI that I hadn't seen before the pandemic. And that's our goal, is to go out, see our properties so that we can sell them right to our customers. I joined
Mm-hmm.
ALHI 3 years ago, a year into my time with ALHI. I wasn't traveling. So I had to do a lot of education on our properties virtually with the sales team, which, we had 2 years to do it. So even though I haven't been to many, I still feel like I can speak to the properties and understand what's the best group for those properties. So I can see that resort destinations have been in high demand.
Yeah.
Here in California, a lot of business has been staying within California. They want to stay on the water. Several of my customers were leaving California. They wanted to go to Arizona and Florida and Texas because there was no restrictions and they wanted to meet and didn't want to be held back by the California government. So it
Hmm.
was just, I would say resort destinations were just resort over box hotels.
Yep.
High
Yeah.
demand. Mhm.
Totally aligned in what we've seen as well. So no surprise there. Um, and another one that we didn't end up booking, but I has gotten a lot of looks is Puerto Rico because it has that international feel, but it's really domestic in that, you don't need a passport to go there. So if you have maybe more like an incentive trip, but don't want to deal with potential COVID restrictions with other countries, that is kind of a destination that might be worth considering too. So very cool. And you guys have properties in Puerto Rico,
Yeah,
right?
we have two in Puerto Rico.
Very good. Okay, cool. So I'm just curious. Obviously, there's lots of ways we can improve the venue search process, pandemic or not. But what are kind of like some of the mistakes you're seeing or challenges you're seeing in the venue search process today that we can avoid as planners?
Yeah, it's interesting. I see several leads come across my desk every single day, and how we can best support our properties and making sure that they give you the best proposal is that we have most of the information that we can possibly have. However, we know that sometimes you don't have all the information, but where has your client been in the past? Have they operated this meeting? Where are they looking? What type of properties do they want? What's their budget? What's their food and beverage contribution? Are activities important? Distance to the airport? Every little thing I could go into it. If you have it, ask the question because it'll only help you save time in the search process. And I've seen, oh, we're looking at 10 different cities and we have 20 hotels in each city.
Hmm.
Is that the best use of the sales manager's time
Yeah.
to
Or
respond?
totally. Or your time as the person who has to go through all those proposals too.
Right.
Yeah. And I definitely, pandemic or not, I've definitely caught myself in that situation in years past where I just want to help someone really quickly. They're like, we need proposals like tomorrow.
Sure.
And we don't really have any preferences. So just get some for us. And I'll be
Sure.
like, okay, yeah, I'm all over it. But it's really not doing them a service. We really need to answer some of those questions because people do have preferences. Even if they say they don't have preferences or they're open, you really just have to ask those like open-ended questions to get them talking, which we talked about on the Sydney Novotny podcast recently about the sales process. So if you guys haven't listened to that episode, definitely go there and she talks more about open-ended questions to just get them talking about what they actually do want because they do have preferences that are going to help you hone in during the sales process and actually get them that perfect fit. So, yeah. Awesome. As far as lead times go, this is another one. This has always been a challenge, right? Like I just said, everyone wants a proposal tomorrow. But it's interesting. People usually wanted a proposal as soon as possible, right? Or they wanted options and pricing as soon as possible without providing a ton of information. But it was usually for an event that was like, 6 months out, a year out, something like that. But we're definitely seeing things shrink down as far as how much lead time there is to even plan the event. What are you seeing like as far as averages of how far out people are booking from the actual event?
I can tell you that the demand for this year is probably where most of my energy is spent right now because several companies want to bring in-person meetings. They want them to meet now. So my biggest ask is date flexibility.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the response timeline goes, I think the biggest ask for me is if I get an RFP today, well, we need responses by end of day today. I would challenge back and be like, Chrissy, are you going to be reviewing this tonight at 5 o'clock until 10 o'clock? And then when are you talking to your client next? Like, sure, if
Yeah.
you're going to meet with your client at 8 a.m. on Monday, I understand your deadline, but those Friday deadlines, really is someone going to review it over the weekend? So just kind of
Mm-hmm.
asking those questions to make sure that you're giving those hotels the best information so that they can prioritize the leads because there's stacks of leads on their desk. It's a seller's market right now.
Definitely. And this is an interesting one that actually goes back to the Sydney Novotny podcast as well, you guys, is getting a call on the books with your client to review the proposal. So not just your proposal to plan, you could be thinking about this as the proposals from venues. And so that can buy you some time too. So if they say, I need proposals by even tomorrow, 24 hours is still very aggressive. Going back to them and saying, okay, well, will you be able to meet with me, the at 9 a.m. the day after? And then all of a sudden they kind of look at their calendar. They're not going to really be able to maybe until the day after that. So it kind of buys you some more time. So yeah, just being strategic about that process so that everyone involved can put their best foot forward, right?
Saves everybody time in the long run. And time is
Definitely.
valuable right now for everyone.
Absolutely. Any other things you can think of as far as things we can improve in the venue search process as planners?
Yeah, I just think the qualifying and then just working with your GSO partners and your CVBs. I mean, Veronica and I work together closely on opportunities, and that's what we're here to do. We're here to work together. And I understand you don't want to have several hands working on the same program, but at the end of the day, if we can help advocate for you and get what you need for your client to make you look like the rock star, that's everyone's goal and our end in mind.
Yeah, definitely. And can you talk a little bit more about just what a GSO actually is and how can planners find them? Like, obviously, we can reach out to you for
Sure,
ALHI,
sure.
but how does that work in terms of getting connected with a GSO as a planner?
Yeah, so I mean, it's up to us to find you ultimately. And, part of my job is prospecting just like yours as you grow your business. And I need to uncover new third-party partners to help support you. And when you have your RFP, it can totally vary in several different ways. So if you're on CVent, we can be added as a GSO partner on CVent, and then we're attached to our hotels automatically. However, there are several customers that are not on CVent yet, and they have an email RFP, which is absolutely fine. So if I had an email or a call from you and you wanted to discuss your RFP, like Chrissy, we just did recently, and I asked questions and wanted to understand your program, from there, I would get your RFP. I would make suggestions based upon the qualifying questions I ask you, which you in turn may then ask your customers. And then
Hmm.
I would share that RFP with our hotels. Our hotels now would be creating the proposal and sending them to you, but keeping me in copy. I am here to support you, Chrissy, and all the listeners, as much as I'm here to support the members that pay my paycheck every single month. So I am here to be a partner, and all of us work together just to make sure that we're placing you in the best opportunities for your customer.
Definitely. And so for us, we do global sourcing, but obviously, like I mentioned earlier in the podcast, we don't know every market. So it is super helpful to have someone who is, and obviously we're focused on so many other things too, right? So I have to be an expert at audiovisual, signage, creative, streaming, event tech, all these other things. So it is super beneficial to have someone who is just every day, all they're focused on is getting to know these properties and being really on top of what's new and coming and all of that. So just a great resource to have.
Yeah, and every single
Yeah,
day I work closely with the on-property sales team. So, I'm talking to the director of sales, the sales managers on, so I know what they need in order to be successful as well. So it just helps you get the best proposal in your hands
love it.
and through the contract process too. So not here to negotiate. That's your responsibility. I had to be fair, but I'm here to be a listener.
Sure. Okay, good. That's good. That's good clarity. Okay, so I'm going to ask you a hard question, and I know it's tough to pick, but I'm going to make you. So, two favorite hotels. What is your favorite classic hotel, and what's your favorite new hotel for groups specifically,
Classic hotel,
and why? Obviously.
the Broadmoor.
Okay.
I mean, have we seen the new convention center space that they have operated? They present their groups with no food and beverage minimums. They are just an amazing, iconic longest five diamond property in Colorado Springs. The lift into Colorado Springs just gets better and better. It's just a
Mm,
beautiful property, and you can take advantage of their mud season, if you will, and get great rates in the off months. But then of course in their peak season, $500-$600 for a group rate. But just a great group house. New group hotel, Fairmont Century Plaza in West.
which I saw you there. Yeah.
Yes, you did.
Century
It's
City.
just Century City, right outside Beverly Hills, across the street from entertainment and attractions, 400 guest rooms, 14,000 square foot spa, the meeting space all in close proximity to one another with the elevators taking you from each level. They have the Fairmont Gold product. So it's just a beautiful group property that just opened during the pandemic. So all those hotels that opened during the pandemic, I have a
Mm,
special place in my heart for, because I know how hard it was to open during that time.
definitely. Okay. Two great recommendations, you guys listening. Definitely go check out the Broadmoor and the Fairmont Century City. I haven't been to the Broadmoor, but I have been to the Fairmont Century City, and it is gorgeous. That like open air lobby is stunning. So, yeah, definitely check it out. Cool. Okay. So, kind of two final questions for you. Um, just thinking about what's going on at ALHI as an organization, what's new and next for you all?
Yeah, our fearless leader, Mike Dominguez, CEO and president, joined us 2.5 years ago. And Mike is a visionary. He's been a visionary for our industry and really has been driving us forward during the pandemic. And I hate to keep referencing the pandemic, but what I wanted to say about what we did is we didn't lay off anyone during that entire time. Our
Wow.
entire team stayed on staff. Our sales associates supported us. We reached out to our members. We provided education, but not just to ALHI. We were working with customers that weren't even customers of ALHI. We were working with hotels that weren't even ALHI member properties. We just wanted to advocate for in-person
Mhm.
meetings and events. And I think we did a really wonderful job in doing that. Our member hotels and resorts, our cruise line partner, Norwegian, our airline partner, Delta, we're all just working together and creating events throughout the United States and globally by bringing together our member properties and our customers and advocating and showing how unique we can make our experiences. And Chrissy, we need to get you to one that is on my list this year. It's just, we want to be the leaders, and we have an events team that has been doing that. Our marketing team, we started a podcast as well. So we've really been pushing the boundary, and I'm so very proud to be a part of this company. It's been, I feel so blessed, and I have survivor's guilt almost that
Mm.
I was able to stay employed, because I have so many friends that left our industry, and I'm secretly like, come back, because
Yeah.
once it's in your blood, it's hard to get out. But
Yeah,
it's it's been a
definitely.
crazy few years.
And I can definitely validate everything that you just said. Though I haven't been to an in-person event like you mentioned, I really valued what you all did in terms of and are still doing in terms of the weekly updates on the industry. That's like a Zoom call, and I don't know who's invited to those or whatever. But
Anyone.
just okay, great. So any of our listeners, if you'd like more information on that, Michael Dominguez and the team have been doing these weekly updates about the return of group business, and you know a lot of other stuff in terms of the market that's been super valuable information for us to have, because again, we have so many other things that we need to be experts at. So to have those sort of weekly updates coming in, that we can then position ourselves as experts, because we have ALHI in our back pocket as a resource to our clients, has been super valuable. So yeah, thanks for all you and your organization have done for our industry to advocate, not just for your customers like you said, but for the whole industry.
Absolutely.
All right. And then what's next for you, Jamie Lee Tiffany? What are you most excited about personally?
Well, I think for me, I am serving right now as the president of Site Southern California, which is the largest site chapter, the Society of Incentive Travel Excellence. And it's been an honor to serve on the board for the last 7 years. So stepping into the presidential role this year was something I talked about, but I also have 2 young kids, and it's adding another job to my plate, which does anybody have time to volunteer and give back to our industry? No, we don't, especially now. So leading a board through this time has been difficult, but our passion is there. And I just encourage anyone and everyone to get involved with industry associations, because it grows your personal network. And the friendships that I've made through this organization have provided me with so much more than just my professional career. And it's also how I got my job at ALHI. I was attending events, I was getting involved, and Jennifer Schaefer, who was a director of global sales at ALHI, came up to me and was like, I think we might be growing our market. Are you interested? And this was the job that I wanted and never thought it was going to be an opportunity. So I will say volunteering and giving back to our industry will provide you with ROI as well.
That's great. And yeah, just to reiterate what Jamie Lee Tiffany said, she is the president of the largest site organization, or whatever chapter in the world, it sounds like.
It is.
So yeah, no big deal. We're talking to a pretty big president here. But yeah, I've attended just one Site SoCal event so far and I've been so impressed with it. And all of the value that you guys are bringing. I know that you just had an event last week too at the Rancho Bernardo Inn that looked so amazing. And yeah, I can definitely attest to what you're saying as well in terms of the value of being part of these organizations. I've been really involved with MPI over the past couple of years as well. So those are two great ones. If you are one of our listeners that's maybe more aspirational and just getting into corporate, maybe you are coming from the weddings world, or the social world, definitely recommend looking into Site, which is more focused on incentive travel for the most part, as well as MPI, which is all corporate. And then there are a few other organizations too. If you have any questions about those, feel free to reach out to us, and we're happy to help you talk through those.
Absolutely.
All right. Any final parting words, Jamie Lee Tiffany?
I just want to say thank you so very much for being a partner and an advocate for our industry, what you're doing with this podcast and what you do for your customers. I've seen firsthand how tremendous you are. You're being a guiding light for many. And I just wish that everyone continues to strive and put their best foot forward and treat others with kindness, because this is a small industry and we're all in this together. Your competition will end up being your partner. So never forget that. Don't forget that, because I can truly say that some of my biggest competitors have actually given me business. So just remember that you have one opportunity and continue to share kindness.
I love that. And it fits so well with this community because this is a community all of event agency owners and aspirational event agency owners. So, yeah, we're definitely fans of the whole philosophy of collaborate, don't compete. So, thanks for sharing that. And thanks so much for being on the show. Really
Of
appreciate it.
course. Good luck today. Thank
Thank you.
you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.